Before this video starts, I've got some breaking news. Yesterday, for the first time, Studio MDHR showed off an entire platforming level from Cuphead. Rest assured, I've already begun working on an analysis video for this. Also, I typically only post videos every other Friday, but this is the second Friday in a row I've posted one. I'm making an exception because I want to get as much finished before the huge wave of E3 gameplay and trailers. With that out of the way, please enjoy the video. Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Ryan, aka Lethal Llama. Welcome to part 2 of my PAX Cuphead gameplay analysis. Before I start, I want to give a huge thanks to Studio MDHR, not only for making Cuphead of course, but for posting my first video all over their social media, making it my most successful video by far. Thanks also to YouTubers Sansgaster and Wolfwoot for pointing out this video to me in the first place. There is significantly less info to point out than last time, but there's still a whole lot of new stuff, like a new boss and weapon. I'd recommend watching my first video before this one, as I won't be rediscussing anything. The link is in the description down below. So, let's get to it. To start, we get a look at the game's title screen, with Cuphead and Mugman posing heroically. We get confirmation from the developers that Player 1 will always be Cuphead, and Player 2, if there is one, will always be Mugman. Much like the classic Mario games, Player 1 cannot choose to play as Player 2's character. The first thing we see after the title screen is an area called Home Sweet Home, which, in this demo, is where you can access the game's tutorial. I assume this will be the same for the actual game as well. In addition, they confirm that there are going to be multiple worlds, as I thought in my first video, and that this, clearly, is World 1. Next, we get to see the full Botanic Panic boss fight. We've seen parts of this fight before a few times, showing the potato and carrot, which I always assumed to be separate bosses. However, this fight is a combo assault of 3 different vegetables, each one in a different phase. First up is a potato, whose only attack is to hurl dirt balls at you. The dirt balls cannot be destroyed, as we see their bullets going through them. Every 4th dirt ball is actually a pink worm, which can be parried. We see clearly that a parry gives you one entire card, to use for either a special attack or eventually a super. After taking enough damage, we see the second phase of this boss fight for the first time, an onion. The developers noted that, like the onion part of this fight, they had kept many boss fights and parts of boss fights a secret, which means players will be surprised upon release, which, quite frankly, has me super excited. The onion only has one attack as well, which is to cry. Teardrops fall straight down from the top of the screen. Although not too surprising, we see here that touching the boss will damage you. Occasionally, and seemingly randomly, a pink, parryable tear will fall from the sky instead of a normal one. Also, I'm almost certain that as long as you've started the parry animation, the object you're trying to parry can hit any part of you. In other words, I don't think you have to jump on top of the object you want to parry. If this is true, it would make parrying these pink teardrops actually possible, as you'd be able to jump into them. The third and final phase of this fight is the crazy carrot. It appears in the background, which means that you can't run into his body. The first things you'll have to dodge are smaller carrots. They begin in the background, then come from the top of the screen and home towards our players. Fortunately, they are destructible, and can be destroyed by fire from your weapons. Next up, the carrot reveals its third eye, which can shoot a beam of sorts at one player. If you're fighting this boss with 2 players, it seems to alternate who it targets. However, since both Cuphead and Mugman are so close together, it's hard to tell. It could just as easily be random. It's also important to note that there's a really obvious setup time for the carrot before he attacks with his beam, giving you plenty of time to prepare. With each boss only really having one attack in this fight, this is clearly a World 1 boss, designed to ease you into the combat of the game. As we've seen in various footage, other bosses won't be nearly as simple. I also want to point out that this is the first time I've seen players dismantle a boss so efficiently. We'll see this during all the fights in this video, but it's cool to see how fast 2 skilled players can take down a boss. Next up, our players take a trip to the shop. There is nothing new here, but Player 1 equips the homing weapon into shot A, and we finally get a chance to see it in action during the ruse of a news fight. And man, it is not what I thought. When I first read the description from the first video, I assumed the shots would home slightly towards an enemy. But no, if you shoot, your bullet is hitting somebody, assuming it doesn't hit the wall or floor first. This means that without having to worry about aiming, you can focus much more on just dodging the boss's attacks. Because of that, it's probably true that this weapon does a lot less damage than some others. Otherwise, why wouldn't you only use homing? We also get to see the homing weapon special, called Bullet Shield. Unfortunately, it's used at a time where it's hard to tell what's going on, but let's break it down frame by frame. First, it looks like you launch 4 homing bullets that act as bullets normally do. They seek out an enemy to the best of their ability. But it also summons 4 bullets that float around you like a shield of sorts, hence the name Bullet Shield. The boss jumps on Cuphead and all 4 bullets disappear, but not before they damage him upon contact, which we see if we pause the video. This special attack is probably better served against bosses that hurl a bunch of projectiles at you, as the bullet shield would presumably block one that was about to hit you. Unfortunately, once more, this is the only time this special is used during this video, and it raises a few questions. First, how long will the bullet shield last before going away? Will it last as long as you take no damage? Or will the bullets dissipate after a certain amount of time? No matter which one of these is true, it begs the question of what happens if you use multiple of these specials in quick succession. Do more bullets get added to your shield? Or do 4 more bullets replace the ones already on you? As an aside, the developers point out that this boss is influenced by the slime from Dragon Quest. Another cool thing pointed out by the interviewers is how the 3D in this game is implemented, in that the foreground and background kind of move at different speeds, creating a really interesting look to it. I'm pretty sure it's called Parallax 3D, but don't quote me on that. During the last phase of the fight, player 1 swaps from homing shot to the pea shooter, and that switch made me realize something. Certain weapons are obviously going to be better against certain bosses. For example, the spread shot is really great for enemies that are close to you, but not so great for ones that are far away. But certain weapons are going to be better against certain phases of a boss fight. Take this blob fight. Player 1 uses the homing shot for the first 2 phases because the blob is hard to aim at while it's jumping around. But when it's in its tombstone form, its movements are much more predictable, and the pea shooter would be a better choice because of the assumedly more damage it will cause. Once again, these 2 players work together seamlessly to take down the boss. I'm very excited to learn all the bosses so well that I can instinctually dodge all their attacks, just like these 2 players gracefully duck under each punch the blob throws. We then see the Floral Fury boss fight once more. I watched through it and didn't see anything new or noteworthy, but YouTuber Wolfwoot also pointed out at the very end of this gameplay footage we can see exactly 1 good frame of the flower's death animation. He doesn't seem very happy. And that is it for this analysis video. Thank you so much for watching. With E3 around the corner, please look forward to many more gameplay/trailer breakdowns, not only with Cuphead, but any other awesome game shown. Also, when Cuphead comes out, I plan to make a detailed video guide on how to beat every single boss in the game. But until then, my name is Ryan, aka Lethal Llama, and I'll see you next time.